Welcome to episode 7 of the Better Coaching Podcast. Today we have a very special guest, Coach Charlie Sullivan. Do you just mind introducing yourself to the audience for us, please?
Yeah, hi. My name is Charlie Sullivan. I'm the men's volleyball coach at Springfield College. I'm also a professor of physical education at Springfield College. I've been a teacher coach here for this is my 26th year. I've also worked with USA Volleyball in a bunch of variety of roles, but most recently as the head coach of the U19 national team that went to the semifinals of the World Championships last summer.
Awesome. Yeah. Congratulations on that, by the way. I know you were doing crazy stuff out there. I was trying to
Yeah, thanks
follow
very
around.
much.
Of
Yeah,
course.
thanks.
So let's just get right into it. So, how would you describe your coaching style?
I'd like to describe my coach style as thorough, um, energetic, and positive. Right, try to be focus on things that are going well more so than things that are going poorly.
Mm,
I like to have a really clear path of what it's going to take to be successful with teams, and I think that I hope my players would describe me as supportive
mm.
and that someone that's in their corner and always helping them and efforts to try to get them to play the best they can play.
For sure. I worked with Coach Sullivan last semester at Springfield College for my internship, and I could tell you firsthand that he definitely does that. A lot of the times we watch you coach, we see you giving them really good feedback or making sure that they know what's going on. And then especially when you're in the game, like I don't think I've ever seen a moment where you were sitting down in your chair on the sideline, not doing anything. You're always standing, you're always coaching, you're always giving high fives and telling people good job and things like that versus some other coaches that I've seen who are just like kind of more idle. And so I really do appreciate that more hands-on and active approach that you take to coaching.
That's great. Thanks, James.
Of course. So does your coaching style change based on the team that you're coaching, whether it be based on their age or their skill or their demographic?
A little bit, but not much. When you talk about age, I don't know if you're talking about like youth level. I
Yeah,
remember
like
coaching
youth
my
versus high school or college, even maybe professional.
Yeah, I think you got to meet athletes halfway where they are. You
Mhm.
can't expect them to come to you. Um,
Sure.
but so yeah, you kind of catering to the crowd that's in front of you,
Mhm.
and yeah, it'd be a little different. When I do high school clinics, high school camps, and I remember coaching at the youth level, my kids' teams, it was certainly different. But I think what's also maybe unique about me and something I would do at all levels, it's a very educational based approach. Like
Mhm.
having started as a physical education teacher and teaching in the physical education major here at Springfield College, with pedagogy and teaching cues and skills, it's all delivered
Mhm.
as a teacher,
Sure.
which I think is really similar to being a coach. It's just teacher
100%.
side of it, a coach that has good teaching skills is polished, and hopefully we'd all work to get better, but polished in a way that they present the material in a really effective manner.
Mhm. Would you say like what is another approach that another coach might take that maybe isn't an education-based approach? Like, are they is more like drill sergeant, like do this, do that. We're gonna drill out this drill right here until we get it right. Like, what would you say is the difference between
Well,
that?
let's take a third grade physical education teacher and
Hmm.
walk into their facility. They're pretty clean. What they're doing, they're pretty organized. They got that moved down, and then just throw someone else in there,
Hmm.
teach the third grade class. It would be a little more hectic, a little more
Interesting.
discombobulated. So the teaching approach just gives, like I said, a really effective way of presenting material and
Hmm.
presenting topics to a team, and it just makes it a little more smooth.
For sure. Like for us as a coach and as trainers, it's really important for us to also, in my opinion, deliver that education. One, because you need to give them their independence so they can solve that issue on their own. And two, if you're not like teaching them and educating them, then, they're only going through the motion. And then once they're on their own, what are they going to do? They might not really understand or grasp why we're doing those things. They might not understand the why behind it. And,
Mm.
in turn, it kind of affects that buy-in terms of, yeah, I'm like fully into this program. Like I trust Coach Sullivan, I trust Coach James to give us high quality performance or like high quality coaching in that sense.
Yeah, I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. I think also
100%.
like in my advanced level coaching class for the grad students that I'm teaching, we have
Mhm.
a topic called physical education or teaching skills. So we want our coaches that don't have a physical education background to be exposed and learn about those teaching skills that really help,
Mhm.
effective delivery and effective instruction.
Sure. Would you mind just quickly kind of going into those skills that you're talking about in your grad class?
Yeah, it's has to do with starting with planning and preparation. There's no good teacher is going to teach a class without a practice or a lesson plan,
Mm,
and so coach has to be as prepared too, and that comes from having a list of things to get done and maybe putting that in a block plan, but taking things out topics per day, and
mm,
organizing how you're gonna in what manner or what order you're gonna present certain topics. Then your instruction, how you're presenting, verbally information, just managing the whole class at once, being have a global perspective, but being really dialed in at the same time. More
mm,
specific, your transitions are important. How your equipment's laid out. And then feedback is really the biggest thing I think that coaches need to work on. Young coaches need to work on, and it's one of the most valuable things that comes out of a teaching background for someone who has a teaching background becoming a coach. And how do they feedback players? Why they're saying what they're saying?
mm,
Is it specific? Is it general? And general positive feedback just really really even although it's positive, it leads to uh, down the road being more anxious. Gives the athlete a chance to feel more anxiety than if it was more specific feedback and
mm,
positive. So general positive feedback is really detrimental at times, even though we think it's good, but we're saying something positive. But
for sure.
it can be debilitating and lead to in the future not having good performances. So yeah, so those are kind of things.
Yeah. Okay. That kind of also just leads like right into the next question, actually. So Springfield College often plays way above the D3 level. So what is your approach to having these guys overcome the pressure and fears of competing in an environment where it's valid for them to feel like they don't belong?
Well, so right now we're probably not there. We lost. We didn't play well in our national championship match last year. With
Mm,
this program, we had some, just moments of anxiety. So
yeah.
we're working on that right now. So
Mm,
yeah, sure, we're working on, and that comes from really our culture and our beliefs, and our care for one another. If those things are taking place, if it's good culture, the athletes believe a lot and they take care of each other, they tend to perform in a higher level. So we're working on that aspect of our team right now to get in a situation where there's a lot of pressure, or maybe playing a team that's better than us, which is totally cool, and then performing well and having a successful match. No
You've been
problem.
working with the men's volleyball team for upwards of a decade now. I walk down into the weight room. We see all of the photos of all the championships, the new max that you guys have won. And I think I remember seeing one from like 2013 or 2011. So I know you've been down there for a while. So can you describe the culture that you created throughout that time?
What do you mean down where for a while?
Oh, it's
Like
Springfield College. Yeah,
at Springfield
for the
College,
men's
yeah.
for the men's volleyball team for sure.
It is my 26th year as the coach at Springfield College. So
See, look
um,
at that.
yeah, yeah. So
Well,
up until what was that?
oh, I said that's longer than I've been alive.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. That doesn't make me feel good, man. But
I'm
yeah,
sorry.
so no problem for all. Uh, but yeah, up until 2012, we were, even though we are at a Division III school, we played in a Division I conference.
Mm,
And in 2012, the NCAA started to support or to have a national championship for Division III men's volleyball, and
mm.
we weren't allowed to play in the Division I conference at that point. So that those pictures down there start in 2012. That was the inaugural year that we had a national championship and for the NCAA, and that's why we're down there at that year. So we hosted and won the inaugural NCAA Division III national championship.
Awesome. So can you like describe the culture that you created throughout, the 26 years that you've been here?
Um, yeah, it's hard to describe. Culture's hard to measure too.
Yeah.
That's why it's these things that are difficult to measure are kind of more uh, difficult to achieve. They take an artistic touch. Sometimes it's not very scientific all the time. And but I think our culture is one that we have a lot of C's. So we have cohesion, we have culture, we have caring, we have competition, we have collaboration. My name starts with a C in Charlie, so I like to say I love all these C's that are going on. So a lot of those things exist in our culture to enable our guys to play at a high level.
Mm. Let's say, for example, you were to form a brand new team. how would you instill your culture into that team? And what would the timeline look like? And why would you do it in that way?
Well, that was my U19 team that I coached this last summer. Previous summer was our first time gathering. Uh, so last summer was World Championships. The summer before that was the qualifiers in our regional
Mm.
tournament. So when we gathered to train for the qualifier, the first thing we talked about was culture and how we're going to build our culture and how our culture is going to be the most important thing for us to play well. And I think in the quarterfinal match 2 summers later in the World Championships, we played Bulgaria, and
Mm.
we really didn't have much of a reason to get those guys. Um, they played in their pro league all year. They're professional level players. We trained for like 9 days,
Yeah, like
went
8 days.
down to Argentina. So
Yeah.
on paper, there's no really reason why we should win that match. But to win that match 3-0 was definitely a confirmation that culture wins, and you can win a lot. You can win a lot of tough situations with a good culture.
Have you ever like ran into a situation where an athlete um wasn't bought into your culture and kind of gave you some resistance and that kind of like threw off the whole vibe for everybody else?
Oh, sure, absolutely, yeah. It's really hard to get 26 guys to buy in
Yeah.
100%. But
Right.
yeah, so sometimes we just talk to athlete about it's just not a fit. Yeah, it's nothing wrong. It's just a different perspective, different way of approaching things, which is totally fine. I
Mm.
think Deion Sanders said the other day, culture doesn't matter. So it's
Mm.
however you get across the river, you can get there your own way. It's fine with me, but just we feel really comfortable with this way here.
Mm. And feel free to push back on this if it kind of, if I'm overstepping the boundary here. But in terms of like maintaining a culture, would you ever find yourself in a situation where, okay, this athlete, we've talked to him multiple times, they're still not, aligning with our values and our culture? Have you ever just said, all right, like you just said, I don't think this is the right fit. I think we're going to need to find somebody else, or you might have to step down until you can show that, you're bonded to this culture and you're willing to work with us here?
But yeah, absolutely. For fortunately, a small percentage of time, but
Mm.
definitely it's happened. Yeah.
What is that conversation like? Like, um, the reaction of the athlete, do they often come in and they're like, you know what, coach, like a day or a week later, like, you know what, coach, I think you're right. Like, I was thinking about it. I was thinking about what you said, and I'm ready. Like, have you ever had situations like that as well?
Yeah, well, that conversation is probably pretty repetitive because there's probably been clear expectations that were presented, and then multiple times conversations of the expectations were not being met, and it's a situation that's not beneficial for the group. And what can we do to fix it? Here's what we're looking for: reevaluate more expectations, go over the previous expectations. So it's probably at some point like it's probably not that surprising after a while. But again,
Yeah.
fortunately, it's only happened a small percentage of time. So uh,
Mhm.
overall, it's been very good following here.
Sure. Let's say, for example, people are kind of um, like everybody has a different idea of what the culture should be. Like hard work, for example, might look different from person to person. So if that's like a value in your culture, how could you like what strategy would you use to kind of make sure that everybody is on the same page with that?
Yeah, like I said previously, it's hard to measure the things that are most
Yeah.
important. Uh, so uh, so just I think that the best way to do it is to point out when behaviors exemplify the culture that we're looking for. That's really point them out and
Mm.
highlight them, and then show the benefits and the rewards that came as a result of that behavior. So I just really like highlighting good behaviors, a good way to do that.
Or would you say it's like more hard, it's harder to measure because it's more subjective in terms of like what you're outlining as the criteria?
Yeah, is no measurement, and it
Yeah.
is subjective. So, like you can say you played on a team that had great team cohesion. I can say me too, but
Yeah.
we would never know which one of our teams had higher team cohesion.
Sure. In terms of like to the individual, is there like markers, like indicators that you also use that help you determine if like, yeah, this is in line with our culture or not?
Uh, to the individual, like
Like to yourself,
expectation.
for example, like rather than team to team, just like me, like if I were to have a culture, like I feel like this is going to be the criteria. If it's not being met, then maybe some things need to change or somebody needs to be talked to or something like that.
Yeah, for sure. I think everyone's doing it, hopefully a good job. We're trying to get our guys to be self-aware all the time. Coaches can be self-aware. Like, did I really carry out my values that I feel important in practice today? If I want to be kind, positive, and act intelligent, did I do that in practice? So we have opportunities to evaluate our self-awareness all the time.
100%. All right, appreciate that. So, watching you coach and speak, you're always very bubbly and you're always very energetic. You have very positive body language and facial expressions. Was this like a skill that came to you naturally that you refined, or was this something that you built up from ground zero?
I'm not sure, but I mean, I think it comes naturally. I'm just like being happy and positive. So
Yeah.
that's why I think, like, I talk to our guys all the time about, if you're not playing well, then totally give yourself to someone else. Totally support someone else's cause and get out of get out of your own way. So I think by giving, I think we get a lot more. I think times I tend to keep, I lose opportunities for, fulfillment and happiness and achievement.
Sure. I like that response a lot. So I got another question that kind of goes into the body language, how you're perceived. So, you know, commonly in our world, impressions matter a lot, right? So, for example, if I'm a coach and I'm not the strongest, biggest, most muscular guy, you might not have people that want to come in and work with me because I don't fit that criteria or I don't meet that standard. So in terms of a coach, like I know you always come in with your hair done up, always looking very proper. Do you think your appearance plays a role in how the athletes perceive you? And does it make them want to listen to you more?
So I kind of know what you're talking about a little bit. I mean, probably that when I'm with USA Volleyball, I'm around 7 foot guys and coaches that are all 6'8", 6'7".
Right.
Just being the smallest guys, there might be a little bit of an impression there, but
Right.
you really can't change that at all. And I don't think you need to compensate for these things that we're talking about at all as well. We don't fit in, stereotypically to a body type or an initial first impression. I think what you just do is you stay the course and be yourself and just prove and gain respect by all the things you're doing as a person, all the things you're doing as personally and professionally. So, just keep on going on, and hopefully they'll listen to the 5'5" coach once in a while.
Have you ever, like, let's say, for example, like a coach is struggling with that, like trying to feel respected or just like owning that space. Let's say owning that space instead of feeling respected. Let's say they're struggling to own that space as a coach and really rock that floor. Like, do you have any tips that you would give to that coach to try to like, get that confidence up a little bit or even just fake it until you make it?
Yeah, yeah, I would recommend that taking outside evaluations personally is really detrimental to being at your best. So the more important evaluation, rather than the evaluation of someone saying to me, I'm short or I don't fit the mold, or what's that guy? I know he's 5'5", he's never played volleyball before. The more important evaluation is the evaluation I do at the end of the day when I'm becoming self-aware of my actions and my performance, and I'm evaluating myself. And to let someone take that confidence from you because you're taking their feedback personally, it's probably more of a shortcoming on their end than your end. And to take that personal feedback or take that feedback personally really takes you away from, the ultimate choice you have, thinking confident and acting confident. Those are your decisions. And at every situation of the day, no matter how positive or negative we evaluate that situation to be, we have a chance to respond. So, I think it's just about, being true to yourself and having your self-evaluation be more substantial.
All right. And that kind of reminds me of the next question I was actually going to ask. It was about Vassar. So that was the reverse sweep. So I was looking at the score sheet, the stats, and they took you guys took the first set. Springfield College took the first set. Vassar took the second set, and then you told them something that got their mindset right. It went something along the lines of, they stole one set from us. Being bummed is a choice. You have to change your mindset and we will be fine. What factors led you to say that?
Was this last year's match, James?
I think this was last year's match.
At home or away?
I think this was away.
Away. Yeah, so I don't remember the exact scenario, but that's probably what we're just talking about. We just talked about a little bit. yeah, it didn't go well. And then said too, but volleyball is a really unique sport
Yeah.
that it's not like we get a 30-point basketball league and that's gonna stay the whole game. Like
Mm.
you get blown out in games too. Your sun comes up tomorrow morning and it's like 0-0 once again. We're all level. So you have to
Mm.
you have to reprove yourself, or you have the chance to, take that game two scenario that was terrible and just do the opposite and believe something different in game two and then respond to it accordingly. So yeah, if we were probably a little bummed, or we were sulking because we had lost in a game and we were getting frustrated, and I was probably talking to our guys about making the right choices in that moment
Mm.
right now and just playing for that kind of current present rally.
Would you say that it's valuable to focus on the right now when you're in a situation like that?
Oh yeah, for sure. No matter what the situation is. I mean, anytime you're putting effort or focus into the past or the future, then you're taking away percentage of effort you can do to put in right now. And
Mm.
the most important thing about your life is right now.
Right.
You can't change the past and you can't control the future. So you got to be good right now. So anytime you're in one of those two other areas, then you don't have 100% of your focus and effort in the right now.
Mm. Very true. Very true. I feel like that kind of relates to me too, because I like to say if you don't know what your goals are, then you don't really know where to go. But oftentimes, as I start to take new opportunities open up. My goals are constantly changing. So I feel like right now I'm spending a good like 30% of my time, my effort looking forward to where I want to go,
Mm-hmm.
especially because, I'm about to be finishing up undergrad soon, trying to determine if I want to go to grad school or not, or see if I can make it without having to go to grad school. I know there's some guys in the field that are doing great work at the D1 level that only have a bachelor's, and why not me? So it's also like trying to figure out that as well. So I definitely
Yeah.
understand, be where your feet are so that you can kind of make the most out of the current situation.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good point. I'm not saying don't ignore the future, but
Right.
really give a lot of effort right now for sure. But yeah, you're doing great.
Thank you, coach. Appreciate it. So just a few more questions left. So I've asked the men's team at Springfield College, and I've seen the impact that you've had on them firsthand. So you say that this is what you do, you know what I mean? And so how do you know what to say to get the mood and the mindset right? And how would a coach know when it is the right time and the right thing to say?
Yeah, I mean, if you start out your planning for your team with some core values, things that you value that are really important, and we're kind of doing it now with player input too, because our season we're just starting practicing, we're just kind of getting going on this journey this year. But yeah, so if you have some really good core values that you can refer back to, especially if things are getting a little bad or players are going astray, it's really helpful, and it's probably what we're doing. We're just reminding them what we value, what's really important every day for our players in the program. So that's really helpful.
Which I remember last year or last semester, we were doing a drill where it was like, um, say for example, Joel, you're super positive, you're always a bubbly guy. GC, you're super serious, but you're also like super in it and locked in, like things like that. You're giving them these characteristics that you think they amplify. And then let's say for example, they were falling off or they were staggering on their path throughout the game. Maybe they're losing that characteristic and it started to switch to something else. Having their own teammates be like, hey, Joel, you got to be that bubbly guy. GC, you got to be locked in. You got to be serious. You got to like be running the offense or something like that, right? Just kind of like getting them back to their roots a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, they have wingman on the team, so if they're off, their wingman, if the wingman comes up and touches their shoulder and talks them about what they're doing, behavior wise, and they get support from their wingman. They have to listen to their wingman.
Oh yeah. Was that something that you just came up with on your own, or did you get that from a book?
Um, I don't think from a book, although a lot of things I get from a book. But we had a general in the Air Force, with a friend of mine, present to us for a couple of years, and I think might have come from his delivery, or the idea of him being a pilot, and
Yeah,
flying
I
air.
remember that.
I think it came
Yeah,
from his content.
for sure.
Yeah.
And just like two more questions here, just because I'm a little curious. I know we're almost up at the time here, but I feel like sometimes as coaches, right, we worry about always at the right time because especially for us as a strength and conditioning coach, when we're trying to monitor like a million different things at once, timing is really important. Like sometimes we also got to be like comedians, you know what I mean? And just kind of keep the energy up there, keep it alive. And sometimes you gotta miss the timing though. You know what I mean? Like the joke is probably dead from like 5 seconds ago. Don't say the joke. You know what I mean?
This
So it's
might be
like
a point.
learning
Yeah.
that. So like do you feel like as a coach that's like respected? Do you feel like you can say whatever you want, whenever you want? Um, obviously following like yeah, I need to make sure I'm delivering it in the right way. I'm using my words effectively as like a weapon, as a tool to, you know, instill motivation or anything like that. But do you feel like you are kind of separated from that now, where it's like, yeah, if I feel like I need to say this, I'm just gonna say it.
Yeah, I think all the things I say are, hopefully, I'm working on them being based on what I value as a person, as a coach, and then what I value in a relationship with a player. So, they're all coming from these things that I think are really important. And then if I know what I value, it helps me respond. It helps me evaluate at the end too, which is really important. So may I say something I was like totally didn't in line with what I was valuing as a coach and evaluating this relationship with this player. And then I have a chance to evaluate that at the end and learn from that mistake and get better.
100%. And last question, Coach Sullivan, would you say that your coaching style changes as the game evolves?
Coaching style changes because we get better all the time. We're growing. The best thing about being a coach is that I always love being a student. So to hear the coaches talk, to learn from you on the podcast, to hear my students in class talk about something that's interesting, their perspective, we're just always evolving. So it changes in terms of getting more polished, better at our craft.
Sure.
Um, but the bottom line is the same thing, that we're really high enthusiastic, good attitude players playing together and playing some championship level volleyball.
Oh, yeah. All
Yeah.
right, everybody. That was the seventh episode this first season for the Better Coaching Podcast. So thank you guys for tuning in. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day, Coach Sullivan, to hop
Thank
on the
you.
podcast.
No
We had
problem.
a
Thanks,
great
James.
talk. I'd love to have you on again sometime if possible, or we could
Great
just chit chat off the side.
questions.
Awesome. Thank you.
Sounds great. Sounds great. Thanks so much. All the best.
Thank you.